Welcome back to Rounding Third Baseball, episode 234. Former minor leaguer Robert Gilliam joins the show. I'm Nick, and we have Harrison tonight. How we doing and how we feeling, Harrison?
Awesome, all good, all good. Better every day and moving forward. So no complaints. But I'm definitely excited for tonight to talk some baseball with a guy that made it where we didn't.
Yeah, amen to that. All right. Before we get into that, make sure you follow and like us on Facebook. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can also follow on Instagram, Rumble, and TikTok. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We also have our affiliate sponsors, Dick's Sporting Goods, MLB Shop, and Lids. You can find these links on the tops of all of our socials. So if you do any shopping with these companies, please do so through our links, and we get a nice little kickback with no additional cost to you. Just a great way to support the podcast. And also, we have our Rounding Third store on Etsy. So if you search Rounding Third Baseball on Etsy, we have shirts, sweatshirts, tumblers, phones, phone cases, not phones, definitely not phones, just phone cases, and mugs on there. So give it a look. Another great way to support us. All right. So here we go. We're going to introduce our guest, Robert Gilliam, drafted by the A's originally and finished your career with the Senators, correct? Yep, with the Harrisburg Senators.
Yeah. So that was the Nationals organization.
Yep.
But yeah. I spent my last 4 years with them. But yeah. Glad to be
That's
here
awesome.
and appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited. All right. So let's start. Where did you grow up and where did you go to college? Kind of give us the backstory of how baseball became such a big part of your life.
Yeah, grew up around the Chapel Hill area, I guess, and then in fifth grade we moved out to San Jose, California, and so was out there through my junior year of high school, and then moved back to Chapel Hill as a senior, and then I got recruited to UNC Greensboro, so that's where I played in college, and then got drafted by the A's after my junior year, and just kind of went through there. I think, yeah, I mean, growing up, the baseball in North Carolina is great. And California, when I got out there, was kind of a whole new world. There's just so many kids, so really, really competitive in the Bay Area. And then, yeah, just kind of definitely made me a better player overall
Yeah.
growing up. And then it was like when I moved back, I got in with this kind of amazing uh, I guess travel ball organization where they just had some stud kids. Like Dustin Ackley was there, Kyle Seager, a bunch of guys that
Wow.
did really really well. So that was probably the best team that I think I was ever on. Was my senior year of high school. But
That's awesome. So you can
That's
like
incredible.
see, right, like you can see the different level that some of those guys are on, right? I mean, you probably played with some ridiculous baseball players.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think in high school, Kyle Seager and I don't know how familiar you are with his career, and his brother Corey Seager's obviously a stud as well. But
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle was just on another level in high school. I mean, he was so good. He was somebody that he made every play just look effortless, and he was just a really really good athlete. So it's kind of seeing that. You look at yourself and you're like, man, I suck, but but
Yeah.
you know, but just a completely different level. And there's other guys too that ultimately didn't even make it. That I mean, were such good players. There's a kid, Addison Johnson, who he played at Clemson. He's another one, man, just so good growing up. But definitely got to see some really good players, and um, yeah, I mean, played in some of those big tournaments and stuff as a kid, and really you just see kind of the level of competition, and it's so much better than your tiny little niche that you're used to playing growing up.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
I
amazing.
I saw that in Maine too. So I grew up in Maine and we got a 16 game season. So you guys down south and in California, you guys play a lot more baseball than us. But I mean, I was considered a pretty good baseball player in my class, but we had a couple kids that went to Vanderbilt that got drafted out of high school. And I mean, I just saw that and I was like, yeah, I'll go to a rinky dink D3 because I don't have that. Like, you can definitely tell the different levels in baseball talent.
When and I think you see it, in college, especially you get some of the northern kids that come down that have never had that long season, and they come down and just do so well, in college, just because it gets kind of stretched out, and they might have been good in high school, but then they get down south and all of a sudden they're just studs by their sophomore, junior year.
Yeah.
I mean, one that I played against in college that, he was good when he came in. He was a high round draft pick, but excelled, was like Matt Harvey at Carolina. Just, he came down south and was just a freak. So you definitely see it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So when you look back, is there a point along your progression, whether it was high school or something like that, is there a point where you look back and there was a moment where it's like, wow, like I might actually be able to make it in this game? Like, did you have that moment?
I think it was summer ball after my freshman year in college. All of a sudden, my velocity jumped up quite a bit, and all of a sudden, it was like, oh shit, I have a shot at getting drafted here. And then it was just kind of, let's put all my chips in that basket. It seems a lot more fun than working. So, so then when I came back my sophomore year and junior year, I was just so motivated. I was, getting into the weight room every day at 6 a.m., just trying to do everything I could to improve, and just kind of went all in.
So what did you get your velocity up to? Because you're looking at a guy that topped out at 75. I mean, throwing straight cheese. So what did you get your velocity up to?
So I was running it up to 96 pretty frequently. I'd say that was, I don't want to knock any of the new stuff, but that was on the old Stalker one, the big square guns that are definitely not as quick as they. Halfway through my minor league career, they switched over to the Stalker 2s, and everybody jumped up 2-3 miles an hour, and it was like, oh man, where were these things a few years back? But
right.
But yeah, that was, I was more of a thrower than a pitcher, I think. So I was just somebody that wanted to throw every pitch as hard as I could, which is probably why I had a couple of shoulder surgeries. But
yeah. So how do you feel about like the new way that they're attacking baseball with like velocity, spin rate? Like, how does that what am I saying? That approach different from then when you were coming up, like through college and in the minors?
Well, and I think, getting drafted by the A's are, I think they were kind of ahead of the curve on analytics. I mean, everything mattered when I got in with that organization. Everything mattered. I think there's pluses and minuses, right? Like you get, it's just a different approach, I think. Not as much gut instinct on how they're coaching folks. It's more analytics driven. I think it's helped in some aspects for sure. You're getting more predictable guys, but at the same time, I think whenever you got guys throwing for specific metrics, it results in more injuries as well. So I think, and to me, the style of play has definitely changed a lot. I think, the small ball days are kind of done. The big emphasis when I was in there was, hey, get guys out in 3 pitches or less. That was the big thing. That's, I wouldn't say it's gone, but it's definitely changed quite a bit. I mean, I don't think guys are necessarily attacking the zone as much as they're trying to strike guys out. And I was a guy, I always had high strikeout rates, especially as a starter. But it wasn't always a good thing. That kept you from going late in the game, which was a big thing then. Now, it's pretty regular to see a starter go 5 innings and be done. But when I was in the minor leagues, it was like, give us 7, give us 8, just go deep into games. And that's definitely changed a lot. And I don't know if it's for the better or worse. To me, it's made some of the games a little less interesting sometimes. You don't have these like starter duels where guys are going deep into games, and which it was something I grew up just kind of loving. I was a big fan of Maddox and Glavine and Smoltz when I was a kid, and you just don't get that out of starters anymore. I mean, it's pretty rare to see a guy go CG. So definitely changed. It's definitely a different game. I think over the last 10 years, it's definitely changed quite a bit.
Yeah. So you said you got drafted after your junior year?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about that process of, you're a junior, you've got another year of college ahead of you if you want it. You get a phone call, the Oakland Athletics want you to pack your bags and show up at at one of their facilities. What is that whole process like, and what's that decision like to choose to kind of leave what you know and chase the dream?
Well, and so leading up to my junior year, I had played in the Cape after my sophomore year, and it was kind of like I would say I really kind of underachieved my junior year. You know, our team wasn't that good. Out of the 3 years I played in college, that was probably the worst team I was on.
Can I hold on real
yeah.
quick? Can I ask you what year you were in the Cape?
So it would have been '08 summer.
All right. So yeah, so we played with a kid that went to the Cape from our small college, Charlie Furbush. She ended up pitching for the Tigers and Mariners. I was just wondering if you were there around the same time, but he might have been a couple of years ahead of you.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
okay, sorry. Proceed.
No, well, so I had played up in the Cape and I had done pretty well. And I was actually going into my junior year, I was projected pretty high, and then I just didn't have a great year. I also hit my junior year, which I didn't hit my freshman or sophomore year. So I don't know, like you know, it was just we struggled as a team, and then I didn't pitch that well that year, so I ended up getting picked up a little later than expected, but when I heard my name called, that was like one of the highs of my life. I was so pumped.
Yeah.
And like I had said earlier, like I'd kind of gone all in on this baseball pass. So like there was kind of no question for me. It was like, this is what I want to do. You know, I want to be playing in the big leagues. So the second my name got called, it was like, all right, let's just, you know, let's do this. And the first thing that they told me with the A's was, do you have a passport? Because we're going to send you to Canada, to Vancouver. And I was like, oh no, I don't have one. So they're like, you need to expedite it and get on that. So yeah, but I was really pumped.
That's incredible. So you spent, was it 2 years with the A's?
So it was short season so like the half year was short season in '09, and then full season 2010, full season 2011, and then I got traded at the end of that in that off season.
Nice. Do you remember who you got traded for?
So it was me and Gio Gonzalez, and so it was us two, and it was for, I'm trying to think of the guys' names that were in the trade coming the other way, but it was two big leaguers and then one of the top prospects that they had at the time. And so
Nice.
yeah, we went over.
Nice.
And it was coming like the year I got traded. It's funny when you're in the minor leagues, like it's a huge deal when you get traded. Like you're usually pretty pumped because it's like somebody really wants you when you get traded. And that year in 2011, like I led the entire A's organization in strikeouts, so I was ecstatic to get traded. And I honestly, the A's organization was awesome. I love playing for them. So it was a really good organization built around, you know, their kind of motto was, let's develop big leaguers and see what we can get for them. So, which is a little different, you know, because they're doing the Moneyball thing. It's really about player development in that organization, and everything revolves around it. And so it was definitely a great organization to be with.
Well, and I feel like Moneyball portrayed the A's as kind of like a cutthroat, a lot of tension in the organization, and it seems like, you know, when you hear Billy Beane tell the story and what you're saying, that it really wasn't that at all.
No,
They were just doing it differently.
yeah, it's just I think it's a little different mindset. In as far as organizations go, it's you know, every team I was on in the minor leagues with the A's, like I mean, we were at the top of the division, if not one of the leaders. It's kind of a culture of, hey, as long as you perform, you guys can do whatever you want. And so it was really it was a little different. I think there's a lot more structure, I think, with the Nats organization. It's a little bit more hand holding, I think, even at the upper levels. But the A's were kind of also their minor leagues are a little bit older with the A's. And I don't know if it's like that now, but it was definitely like that when I was there. For the most part, most of the guys are college guys. And it was more so, hey, you know, you did something right to get here, keep it up. You know, we're going to give you all the tools to progress. But we really want to see you guys excel. And I remember at spring training in the A's minor league camp, there's a wall, and they encourage anybody who makes it to the big leagues, come back and sign, whether it's with us or without us. We just want, you know, our whole goal in the minor leagues is to get you to the big leagues. If it's with us, that's awesome, but we just really want you to get there. It doesn't matter who it's with. So
That's cool.
yeah, really,
That is
really
cool.
cool mentality there.
All
So
right, you
how
ready?
did-
So
oh, go ahead.
so real quick. So in that trade, the four people going back were Brad Peacock, Tommy Malone, Derek Norris, and AJ Cole.
There you go. Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
And AJ actually ended up coming back over, and I played with AJ in Double A with in Harrisburg, and then he got called up from Harrisburg to the Nats. This was like 2013 maybe. So
Nice. So, I mean, you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but the different philosophies with the organizations. Did you have a big learning curve when you got to Harrisburg, or like how was that transition from the A's to the Nationals organization?
it's always, and it's funny because folks that I've talked to, after my career's over, have asked me questions, and the thing that was rough for me is I was just a completely different player once I got traded over. I tweaked my shoulder in camp that year, and it just was never the same. And I always, it's hard when you get traded because you're over there trying to prove yourself to everybody. And so I kind of just kept it quiet. And then at the end of the season, got it looked at, and I had an 80% rotator cuff tear.
Ooh.
And so, I mean, that entire year, I mean, I knew I did it at spring training, and the entire year, I mean, I had gone from a guy, with the A's, they track everything. And I think for the entire year, I didn't have a fastball below like 93. And then when I came over to the Nats, I was sitting like 87, 88. And I'm like, man, something's wrong here. And I ended up, it was the first time in my life I was actually trying to pitch, because I was like, man, I can't get a fastball by anybody. And I mean, in the 4 years I was with him, I didn't have a single outing where I would say I was even remotely close to what I had been with the A's. So I think, I don't know. I definitely had a different mentality, but it was also like I just was never the same guy. I felt like with the A's, I definitely had kind of like the killer mentality. Let's go in and let's just pump fastballs and come right at people, and then you can't do that when you're throwing 87. So so it was just a completely different mentality for me. But the Nats are great as well. Like definitely another awesome organization. And the way they go about things were a little different. Just I think when I was with the Nats, it was a lot more kind of what I would think of as kind of like old school thought, and just like, here's how we're going to approach it. Whereas where the A's, everything was, to a T. We're looking at every analytics. We're going to go over it after every game, going through all these things. And the Nats were just more or less, what's your ERA look like at the end of the year? And then the guys who excel, they're going to go up, and the guys who don't, they're either going to get released or they're going to stay put.
Nice. Yeah, it's crazy. So what did you have for a pitching repertoire?
So I was fastball, curveball, slider, changeup. My changeup was never any good, but I could definitely spin it. So yeah. So those were definitely my go-tos. For a while I had a really good slider. And that was kind of like my put away pitch, but once the velocity went, I kind of lost that a little bit as well, and got a little loopy.
Yeah. Nice. So who would you say, like, there's always that one guy, right? The one guy you face that always has your number. You can't get him out. Who did you have that one guy for you?
Yeah. There's two guys. So actually, no, I would say there's three guys. So when I was with the A's, Brandon Crawford, I bet he hit 5 home runs off me. I like, and I was in high A with the A's, and somebody, it looks like on the comments, said Lake Elsinore Storm, so it was in that league. But we had a really short porch and right. I was with the Stockton Ports, and right center is like the shortest porch ever, and every single changeup I ever threw to Brandon Crawford got put into that little short porch out there. I'm pretty sure there's also like a river on the other side of the fence over there. I think he might have put one in there as well. But he definitely had my number. Then Machado got a couple off me. for sure. And then what's his last name? It's like Uribe. He was with the Orioles for a little bit.
It's not Juan, is it? Not.
I'm
No,
trying to
he
think.
was older.
I'm trying to think. He was
Abner.
I'm not sure his first name. But man, he hit the hardest ball I've ever seen off of anybody. But it like I swear it almost took my head off and then hit like midway up the batter's eye at our place in Harrisburg. But
God.
yeah, but yeah, definitely a few guys have my number for sure.
All right. So on the flip side of that, is there a guy that you absolutely owned?
Ooh, there's a guy, he went to Duke. I was buddies with him, and he played in the big leagues for a little bit, but his Nate Fryman, he's like 6'6", 6'7" guy, and I could just always come in on him. And I would just live inside on him. And he was a really good hitter, but he was just the guy that I could come in on and just live there.
That's awesome.
That's
all right.
Awesome. So something I've always been curious about, to kind of the real behind the scenes. We've had a couple of minor leaguers on here, and I'd love to ask this question. When you look at your progression from, short season to A to Double A, what is the day in the life look like? We all have this in our mind. We all think that you kind of, game gets over, you go home, you go to bed, you roll into the ballpark the next day, warm up, go play a game. We hear about the sticky bus rides and all that, but like, what is life like in the minors at those different levels?
So I feel like there's different types of guys, right? Like there's some guys that, they're so good. They just like, they roll out of the hotel, they go to the field, and they're just a stud. I was never that guy. And a good example of that is Rendon. I know he's been hurt the last couple of years, but like, he's just such a freak athlete that he doesn't have to do anything. Like, he's going to show up and he's going to be a stud no matter what. For me, I've always been kind of an early riser. So pretty much every day I was always on that, 10 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. jump bus. I'd always get, breakfast, the day of, that morning, whatever, get breakfast, go to the gym, come back, get lunch, and then head to the field, be on the first bus. And then, yeah, I mean, I'd always, for me, I was just very about kind of the baseball life, I guess. Like, it's something I've definitely enjoyed. And I definitely kind of burned the candles at both ends, because we'd finish up the games and I go out to the bars, after the games, and and I'd be out until, midnight. And then, games, let's say the game ends at 10:30. I'm always on the last bus out, go with the boys to wherever everybody's going, and then get in, and then I'd be one of the first ones up the next day. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. Folks definitely always are like, oh, do you miss it? I'm like, absolutely. Like, if I could, I'd still be playing, but just not on the cards.
So you were with the Nats when Bryce Harper was kind of coming up through, correct?
Yeah. So played with him a little bit in Double A, because he had made it to the big leagues, was doing well, but he had a couple injuries, came down, rehab for extended period of time a couple times, and so got to play with him quite a bit.
And you K'd him in an inter squad game, is that correct?
I don't know, maybe. I definitely, I'm trying to think. I mean,
the answer to that question is yes. Just say
yeah. I know I faced him. I don't know if I punched him out. I definitely faced him quite a few times. I don't remember him ever hitting any stingers off me, but definitely faced him a few times.
Nice. This is a good question from one of our great followers here. Did you have a good go-to ritual or superstition on game day?
So a little bit, maybe. So I always had kind of nervous jitters, I think, and my mindset was like, oh, I'm just gonna fight that with Red Bull. So I would just slam caffeine and pre-workout before every start. So I don't know if that's a good thing, but it was like I have to have a bunch of caffeine before every outing. And my mentality was like, that's gonna take away the nervous jitters, and then I'm gonna be thinking about how much caffeine I had instead of having kind of these nervous jitters. Yeah.
Nice.
It's one of the, were you out there on the mound like all amped up and jazzed
Oh
and jumping
yeah,
around? Or?
oh yeah. I was a maniac out there, especially when I threw hard. Like I was, I was the guy who's just amped out of my mind. I felt like, I kind of had a closer mentality as a starter, which was sometimes good. I mean, when I'd make it late in the game, I'd be like, oh crap, I burned everything out in the third. Somehow I'm here in the seventh or eighth and don't really know what to do. But yeah, I was definitely always amped up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, John says you should answer that question by saying yes, you absolutely got Bryce Harper,
Yeah,
and even told him what you were throwing.
yeah. There you go.
What is it? So what is it? So you're in Double A, and a guy like Bryce Harper comes down to rehab. What is that like for you guys to have a guy like that come down to rehab? Is he kind of off limits? Are you able to just like jump right in there and hang with him and learn from him? Like, how does that whole rehab process work for a major leaguer?
Yeah, I mean, when I was there, I mean, he had played with everybody on that team pretty much. So like, and once you get to, so when I was with the Nats, the only time I was in high A with them really was when I was rehabbing. So, with Bryce, kind of, once you get to Double A, everything's kind of different for you, right? So when you get to Double A, like, because I think the thing that everybody kind of knows is most of the guys in Double A can play in the big leagues. It's just, are you good enough to stick, and who's ahead of you? Like, like you could probably play in the big leagues somewhere. Everybody in Double A is good. Like there's no doubt. And the way the Nats especially treated it, because Harrisburg was Harrisburg was just a couple hour drive from DC, whereas when I was there, Syracuse was our AAA. I mean, it was kind of interchangeable between Double A and AAA. Like there was one year, I think 2013, it was like half our team got called up. So there was just so much intermingling between the big league squad and the Double A team, between spring training and then during the season that Bryce would come down, and he's just one of the guys while he's there.
That's cool.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
That's cool.
So I got a question here. Favorite ballpark. So this could be one you've played in, one that, or both.
Yeah. So and I didn't pitch there. I sat on the bench when we played. It wasn't my day to start, but so Fenway, I just thought just the history of that place. It to me, that was definitely the coolest spot, I think. And going through everything pregame, going through like the Green Monster, seeing all the names on the wall. Yeah, I mean, Fenway to me, it's just, there's something about that kind of old time feel to me that's just, it's just really cool, and just the history of it. And you're like, man, guys were playing on this field 100 years ago. That not, none of the new parks have that, and it's just, to me, it's really cool. And it was something when I was in the Cape, they had like some games at Fenway as well. So it was just, that's definitely, I'd say, all-time favorite for me.
I mean, as like a hardcore Red Sox as Harrison and I are, like you lived our dream. Like I would have loved to have just thrown one pitch at Fenway, and that would have made my life. Like that's incredible.
I'll tell you,
even around a BP. Just let me get out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I was with the A's in low A, we played at Wrigley, and similar at Wrigley, right? And I swear every single guy that pitched at Wrigley or Fenway, it's like, oh, what do you know? They're throwing 2 miles an hour faster today because you get out there and just a cool spot. So
yeah, that's incredible, man.
Yeah, as Red Sox fans, we have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Fenway because you love the field, love the history. It's still one of the worst ballparks to actually watch a game, because the seats are uncomfortable. They're aimed the wrong direction.
They're like,
the ballpark is so legendary.
Yeah.
No, that's like watching a game at Fenway. I'm like, man, is my ass that fat? Like, I'm like, man, like people 100 years ago, man, they must have been skinny. That's for sure. So
yeah, I went to Fenway and I sat behind home plate, and my femurs don't fit between the seats. My femurs are too long between the back. I had to like tuck them and cross them and tuck them underneath the seat in front of me. It's the only way I could sit there.
And then you have those weird seats that are behind like steel rods, and
you're watching the whole game like this.
Yeah,
hoping that your neighbor doesn't mind.
Well,
Yeah.
and a funny thing at Wrigley too is for the visitor locker room, you actually go over top. I would assume it's still like this, but you walk through the tunnel, and the tunnel actually takes you over top of the concourse. So like there's just these little tarps, and I was sitting in there, walking back, and now obviously it's a minor league game, so there's 5,000-10,000 people there. It's not packed, but I was sitting there, I'm like, man, a big game. That's got to be pretty wild, knowing that the entire opposing team is just walking
over the top.
Yeah, right over top of the concourse.
That's crazy.
That's so cool.
Was there ever a player that you played with or played against that made you kind of starstruck, or does that not really happen with you all being kind of on the same level of competition?
So A-Rod, after he got off his suspension, he was playing for Trenton, and we played against him, and like I remember all the pitchers like, oh, I'm gonna drill that guy, whatever. and I remember like that's what everybody talked all big, and then I feel like everybody got on the mound versus A-Rod, and all of a sudden like nobody's coming in on him, and kind of and ultimately I think when you get a little nervous about going in on somebody, you end up leaving some pretty fat pitches, and I think he did pretty well against us that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think A-Rod would be one for sure. I think everybody was just kind of like, that's it, because I mean I grew up watching A-Rod, as a kid, so pretty cool when you're playing against him for sure.
Yeah,
I remember the first time seeing him live at Fenway. I was amazed at how big he is in real life. He's a huge man.
Yeah, definitely pretty built. So and yeah, I mean it was and yeah, going back, I mean everybody just talks so big before facing him, and then that goes out the window. So
yeah, it's man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But all right, who were the best road fans and who were the worst that you ever encountered?
Well, I mean, for me, it's the minor leagues. So I think like you don't get at the end of the day, nobody really knows who anybody is, right? So, the stuff that road fans say is just kind of like it goes through one ear and out the other. Like I mean, I remember distinctly when I was playing for Vancouver. Everybody was wearing us out because we had to listen to the Canadian national anthem. Even we were the only team in Canada, but every time we play in the U.S., they'd play both the Canadian and U.S. National anthem, and we would just get worn out. Like, and it's funny because you're like, there's not a single one of us from Canada on the team, and 70% of our team is Dominican, so it's like they don't even know what you're actually saying. So
right,
yeah. So, but I mean, there wasn't really. I don't think I never really had any bad experiences with fans. I mean, the stuff they'd say is just kind of go with one ear out the other.
So you were the Harrisburg Senators, so you were in the Eastern League for AA, right?
Yeah.
So did you get to play at Hadlock Field? Did you ever pitch there in Portland?
Yeah. Many times. So cool field. And Portland is one of my favorite spots. I mean, my wife and I actually went there 2 years ago. I think we're pregnant right now, so I think we're gonna go back there for a baby moon. Thanks. And but I just love Portland, and it's cool. I mean, that's one of the great things about playing ball is like you get to see the whole country and go to places that you may not go to otherwise. And what I kind of learned along the way is just every single place in America has something awesome about it. It doesn't matter. You can be in Burlington, Iowa, and you can find an awesome thing to do there. And it's just every single town has something different, and there's just really cool stuff in the country. So, and it's something I definitely wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Yeah, Hadlock's cool. I got the opportunity to play there in high school because the Portland high school team like split their home games with the two high schools that were there.
Yeah.
So we got to play at Hadlock a few times. So I actually had my career game there. So I hit 2 home runs there in one game. It was like best game of my career. So then I hung them up,
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
I got to do a baseball factory showcase at Hadlock, because I grew up in New Hampshire, and I now live 30 minutes south of Hadlock. So if you come to Portland, give me a heads up. I'll give you the insider's tour. But I go there a few times every summer, and my kids now love it too. And I love that double A experience where these kids are all still generally young. They're competing hard. I got to watch Roman Anthony, Marcelo Mayer, all these guys come through. It's just the minor leagues are such a cool experience. And Portland's a really good minor league town.
Oh, it's like one of the best out there for sure. I mean, definitely an awesome place.
Yeah. All right. So being on a team with a whole bunch of 20-something-year-old guys, a lot of crazy things can happen. And I know you got some stories in there. So I was given an inside tip to ask about what happened a certain time you were in the bullpen and you guys constructed something and launched it into the crowd.
Yeah. So that would definitely be the dumbest thing. I think it could be the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life because I feel like I could be in jail for it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Saddle up.
Yeah. So this was 2012. So this is in the midst of when I was going through stuff with my shoulder and it just wasn't doing well. And I had been demoted to the bullpen. So we were in Harrisburg and I was out there, just goofing around. A lot of people like to think that the bullpen guys are locked in throughout the game, but that's just not the case at all, right? So we were out there and it was probably like the third or fourth inning. So all of us are just screwing around and there's a guy, his name's Ryan Perry, who he was a stud with Detroit. And he was over with us. He didn't make the team at a big league camp. So he was in Double-A and he had bought this, I don't know, like $3,000 crossbow. And so, yeah. And so every day before BP, we would go and we would shoot targets from the bleachers on the right field line. Yeah, I know. That's that's a good question. So anyway, we got pretty good shooting this crossbow. I mean, we were just painting, bullseyes from, 100 yards, right? Like we're shooting them, we're well beyond the sight. So we're aiming 4 feet above the target, watching it drop in. And somebody had missed a couple shots. So they had taken the arrows, if you don't hit the target, the arrows break. So they had taken the arrows and just thrown them into the bullpen. And during that game, we had this TheraBand, and I found this metal rod, right? And we were like, oh, let's make ourselves a bow. And so we take the TheraBand, we tie it up, and we're just screwing around. And you guys are gonna think I'm an idiot when I tell you guys this. So anyway, we're sitting in the bullpen and we have plastic water bottles and we're shooting them maybe 15, 20 feet. And we're like, oh, this is cool, whatever. And we're playing little games oh, you got to put your foot out there in front of the water bottle and see if somebody can, who's going to mess up. Just stupid stuff, right? And so anyway, that gets boring. So myself and our closer, who his name is Hector Nello, who he was a stud too. But anyway, I'm like, oh, we got to make this thing tighter, right? So we tighten this as hard as we can. We get this thing really tight. And before, because it wasn't that tight, we were aiming up to get it to go 15 feet. So anyway, being the idiot that I am, I come and grab it and aim like we had been aiming at first shot. And boom, the thing goes 50 yards and it goes over. And keep in mind, we didn't take off the field tip. So there's still a tip on it, right? So it goes over top of all the people on the right field line crowd, goes over their heads, and then we lose the arrow and I'm like, oh my God, I just killed somebody. So I'm I freak out. I'm like, oh my God, where the hell is this? And so also in Harrisburg, if you look at a picture of Harrisburg, there's a lot of people over there that are watching me commit this crime. So there's 500 people that are watching us screw around that all just saw me fire this arrow over top of a crowd. and like Harrisburg always had good crowds. So I spaz out and I'm like, hey, there's all these little kids. I'm like, hey, if anybody can find that arrow, I will give you 5 baseballs. So all of a sudden, 25 kids go sprinting off into the right field, and it's where all the concessions are there. And next thing you know, I see this kid like scaling up a wall in the back, and the arrow is actually plugged into the back wall of this tent up there. And he comes back with an arrow, and I ended up like taking it. I dug like a giant hole in the bullpen. It's probably still buried out there. So, but yeah, that was definitely the dumbest thing I think that I've done.
All right,
yeah.
so I'm going to Harrisburg this summer, and I got the stadium tour.
Yeah.
So, what part of the bullpen did you bury it in? Because I'm bringing a shovel.
Yeah, it'd be on the right side of the bench, like right in front of the bench. I mean, because that's the only spot that's out of sight of the crowd. So I was like digging it, and I dug it probably like a foot or two deep, and
dang,
it up. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Was that kid pumped to get the 5 baseballs?
Yeah, he was thrilled, and I was like, win-win. Nobody died, so
As a reliever, you need to put the fear of God into the batter. I guess launching arrows would do that.
That'll do it. Yeah.
My God, that's incredible, man. I mean, yeah, it's awesome to hear your story and how you got there. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us. It's been absolutely incredible.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks a ton for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Harrison, you got anything else, or?
I just one question before you go. When you look back on your career, Robert, like what's that one memory that just sticks with you that made it all worthwhile?
So I had one big league appearance with just in spring training, and I think it was with the Nats, and I think that if I had to dial one, it sucks that it was at spring training, but it was definitely an awesome experience for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, for someone that lived and breathed baseball, still live and breathe baseball, obviously, or we wouldn't have this show. It's incredible to listen to somebody that got to live out a dream for playing baseball professionally. So really cool to hear your story. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you sharing everything with us. It was awesome. We'd love to have you on again at some point. Maybe just talk what's going on in the MLB if you still follow it. I don't know if you do, but would love to have you back on at some point.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime you guys want to chat.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, cool. Thanks again, guys.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Robert. Appreciate it.
We'll see you.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll see it.
Wow, that was cool. That was really cool.
Could you imagine reaching back and through a 96 like it's just another day?
I could, and then I turn off my PlayStation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, my create a player gets deleted.
Wow, it's so cool to hear. Like you said, we've had a couple minor leaguers on, and it's still really cool to hear how their journeys are so different and so unique. Like, I mean, it's wild, like, and even the differences between the A's organization and the Nats organization that he was describing, like, you don't really think about that the philosophy goes all the way down to high A or even low A in some instances.
Well, yeah. And you think about the success the A's had in that time period, and they were much more kind of lenient and flexible. It's kind of like, hey, you're a good ball player. You know what got you here? Just do that. And then you had the Nationals where they were more structured and they struggled. It's interesting how the different philosophies and approaches, it really has it's not just about player development. It's also about making the guys comfortable to be successful. And those different environments make a huge difference.
Yeah, that was really cool. I'm glad he ended.
It's wild.
Yeah. I mean, just the chance. I mean, he played on both coasts too. So like he's seen a lot of ballparks, and even being in high school, like I really wish, like looking back, I would have had the opportunity to play baseball year round. Cause like, I don't know what type of player I would have been or could have been if I played more than 30 games a year. That's spring and summer ball put together, by the way.
Yeah. And I'm so thankful that I was able to play AAU and travel and playing tournaments around the country. We played fall ball all the way till it got too cold. And honestly, like I feel like it made me a better player, but also I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved the hell out of getting up at 5 a.m. on Saturday morning to drive to Connecticut to play 3 games to then drive home
Right.
and then get up on Sunday to go to Massachusetts and play 3 more. I mean, I must have played between the spring, summer, fall. I mean, I had to be getting 4 or 5 games a week.
Wow. Yeah.
Throughout the summer, and then at least 2 or 3 in the fall.
Yeah, I got like maybe 2 or 3. I had like one weekday game and then maybe a doubleheader on Saturday.
I think about like our old high school schedules, and it was you played 2-3 games a week for like 6 weeks, and the season was over.
Yeah, done.
And then it was like senior Babe Ruth and Legion. That season was another 6 weeks long, and between the two, you might have gotten 35 games, and you're done.
Yeah. I love travel ball the year before I played travel ball. Played for 2 summer league teams. Yeah. See, in Maine, we couldn't play on multiple teams. They didn't have travel league. It was Legion. You had to play American Legion baseball or it was nothing. Like that was it. The travel teams weren't really around when I was going through. So
yeah, and Maine was interesting because you had like Nova, where that was the team.
Yeah, and that was an American Legion team.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember we were an AAU team based out of Southern New Hampshire, and we played Nova a few times. That was kind of like the main team, but we also played the Lightning and all that. And I mean, I remember we went down to Kingsport, Tennessee for the national tournament. We came out of New England #1, and we came down there #5 in the country, and then we immediately played against Lakeland, Florida, and first batter of the game gets a base hit to center field and almost gets thrown out at first by their center fielder. Absolute cannon for an arm. That's when we realized, okay, we're not in New England anymore. I mean, every pitcher through low to mid 90s at 16 years old. It was. I mean, we did well, but we were not the #5 team there. When you boiled it all down, we looked really good coming out of New England, but it's not the same as playing against the kids from the South.
Yeah, but man, really cool. That was awesome. We'll definitely have to have him on again sometime. He was really cool. That was awesome.
It's awesome to talk baseball with somebody who's actually been there and has lived it.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna move on to some other other news around the league here. We're gonna start off with Jacob Mizorowski. Outduels Paul Skeens yesterday, gives up only 2 hits and gets the win. I mean, this kid is unbelievable.
I mean, he's all right if you like not giving up runs and K'ing a lot of guys.
Yeah, or not giving up hits. Period.
Yeah, true. Or hits.
He's given up 4 in his major league career in 3 starts.
Yeah, and I feel kind of bad because like going into that, you knew he was going to beat Skeens because the Pirates do not score any runs. But just it's amazing to see that kid and Skeens go head to head because the stuff they have is just unreal.
Yeah, and I mean, Skeens still doesn't have a win on the season, so it's like crazy.
John, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally would.
Yep. Yeah, crazy.
This kid is. I mean, again, assuming he stays healthy, this kid is the real deal. His stuff is off the charts.
Yep. Well, staying with the young guns, Chase Burns for the Cincinnati Reds struck out 6 of his first 7 batters of his MLB career. Oh, just against the Yankees as well.
Yeah, they weren't scrubs.
No. He did that Tuesday night. He finished with 8 Ks. He did give up 3. But my question is, what are these young pitchers on lately?
Well, and before I answer that question, so he got Aaron Judge, and Aaron Judge literally walked back to the dugout, like shaking his head a little bit. And you don't see Judge do that very often.
No.
You just when Judge is walking away like, holy crap, what just happened? That says a lot about you.
Yeah.
But these kids come up and Mizorowski, Burns, these are mid to high 90s flamethrowers with crazy breaking stuff, high spin rates. Again, as we keep saying, like this is the type of pitcher that they are building. The question becomes for how long do they last?
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, you watch Burns threw at one point like 7 straight pitches and 97 or higher. Great. But what does that look like in 2, 3, 4 years? That's the only thing I worry about with these kids. They have unreal stuff. I just question how long they can actually hold up.
Yeah, it's for me, it's the durability here. We were just talking to Robert about it. Like he tweaked his shoulder, he throws 96, like and tweaked the shoulder and felt the velocity drop. Like these guys are throwing triple digits. You can't tell me that your arm's gonna hold up. I don't care who you are. We bring up Jacob deGrom all the time. Like the guy has so much talent, but his body just can't physically handle how much talent he has. Like you're gonna break down. It's a long season. It's a lot of stress on a lot of different parts. Is it impressive? Hell yeah, it's impressive. But at some point, they're gonna have to spend time on the shelf. But maybe being young helps them for a little bit, but once their body gets older and get some miles on them, like you will see it break down. It's father time always wins. But crazy.
It's amazing because like I watched the highlights of the '95 World Series Game 6 when Glavine went out there and threw 8 innings of one hit ball, struck out 8. This is a guy whose fastball couldn't break a pane of glass.
Yeah,
and he had guys just struggling, chasing stuff off the plate, chasing changeups in the dirt. 86-mile-an-hour fastball at the letters blowing by him because they were looking for a changeup. But he was, he even said it like, I wasn't coming out of that game. I was going the distance, and he only went 8, and they handed over the closer, but 8 innings, and that was the goal. Those guys set out to go 7 or 8 innings. These guys just aren't built that way anymore. They're not pitchers; they're throwers.
Yeah, get me to the 5th. Get me not even through the 5th anymore. And most of the time, you see those guys come out in the middle of the 5th. And then they go hit the showers. It definitely has changed. And even listening to, Robert about the mentality of it, like when he was there, like every time he started a game, it was, I need 7 or 8 out of you. And this was back, he was, I think with him, was it 2011? I think it was 2012 and that
9, 10, 11.
Yeah. So, it wasn't really that long ago in the grand scheme of things. And it's just completely flipped. That whole pitching philosophy is flipped.
Well, and I think when you look around the league, I think there are still teams that have that philosophy of trying to develop these guys for length. I just think it's fewer and fewer as everybody gets enamored by the fastball. But a great example is look at the Dodgers this year. They've got the 3rd highest starter ERA in baseball because all their guys are hurt.
Right.
Their rotation has been their weakest part because they've got an all-star team on IL. And it's the usual suspects. It's Glasnow, it's Snell, guys who are high strikeout, throw a lot of pitches, a lot of velocity, don't last long.
Yeah. Chad, is kind of with us. He's like, analytics aren't big in college because they're still developing. These guys are great, but health, of course, and when guys have seen their stuff a few times. That's the other part of this, right? Is what adjustments do Mizorowski and Burns and all these other guys make when they see him again? That's what makes Skane so unreal right now. Is he's on his 2nd full year, pretty much. I'm going to call last year a full year. I know he came up basically mid-May, June, whatever.
Yeah, he made 20-something starts.
Yeah, they have tape on Paul Skenes, and they still can't touch him. Right.
Yeah, and he was high profile enough. They had plenty of tape before he got there too, knowing he was coming.
Right. So this is another one. Ric Flair's favorite guy, Brian Wu.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, John, because I had shared on our page or in our stories just the stat of the fact he's got 15 straight starts of 6+ innings, which nobody does that anymore.
No, not even close. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how Mizorowski does and Burns do when that flips, because it always flips, right? Pitcher gets the upper hand, batter gets the upper hand, then the pitchers make an adjustment, they get the upper hand. And that's a great one. Don Trellwell is prime example of guys getting tape. Yeah.
Yep.
So
and it's the same reason coming into this year we were kind of like, what should you expect out of Garrett Crochet? What should you expect out of Tariq Skubal? The book on these guys is not real big. Come to find out, their stuff plays. But there's a lot of guys you've seen go out and have a good season or two, and then just they never the same. They never have it again.
Yeah. So just be interesting to see if they can make the adjustments going forward for sure. Well, since we're talking about injuries and all of this stuff, and you guys know that I'm like a pretty big Diamondbacks fan, this list of injuries just blows my mind, and it just keeps getting added to daily. So Corbin Burns, Justin Martinez, AJ Puck, Jordan Montgomery, Tommy John, boom, done. Corbin Carroll, chip fracture in his wrist. Kendall Graveman, 15-day IL. He has an arm thing going on. Suarez was hit in the hand. We're still waiting to see. I haven't heard anything on the x-rays there. Gabby Moreno, hairline hand fracture. Josh Naylor's day-to-day with his shoulder. Christian Mena, I've talked about him a few times on the show, was a promising bullpen arm that the Diamondbacks absolutely needed because their bullpen's in disarray. He's on the 60-day IL with a shoulder strain. And then Eldemaro Vargas fouled the ball off his foot against the White Sox the other day, and he's out. When they were playing the White Sox, they had one guy left on their bench. One. Everybody else was on the IL or got hurt that game. That game, Suarez left, Naylor left, and then Vargas fouled it off his foot. So all they had left was Tim Tao off the bench. That was it. That's why they signed James McCann the other day.
Well, I was going to say, you've got the Diamondbacks who even had to go sign James McCann because they're running out of bodies.
Crazy. Yeah, that's almost a better lineup than some teams have healthy. You aren't kidding.
Yeah.
You're not. I mean, it's like, did they even list the guy who tried the popcorn behind the back of the stands? It's like, I mean, this is absolutely insane. I mean, if the Diamondbacks somehow found a way to make the playoffs after this, would be nuts. But I think it's too much to overcome.
I mean, if you looked across the league right now, you could build a better all-star team off the IL than you can build off of active players.
Yeah.
We've said it the last couple seasons. Like every year, it seems like it's the worst year ever for injuries. And you look at all the guys that have gone down, and it's not like it's, I rolled my ankle, I need a few days. It's you got 4 Tommy Johns on this list. Yeah. 4 Tommy Johns from the same pitching staff. To me, it is absolutely it's an epidemic and an issue across baseball where you are seeing so many more major injuries, especially to pitchers. And when you look across the league, that severely harms the product on the field. I mean, the Dodgers have an all-star rotation on the IL.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. I mean, does this ever change though? Do teams at some point be like, we need to totally tear down our pitching approach and figure out how to not have this happen?
You would think, but like, look at the Rangers. The Rangers have had 3 straight years of pitching problems, and they're not changing their approach. They're going to keep doing what they're doing. You've got the Diamondbacks. We'll see if they change anything from this, but I think the league is just accepting the fact that these guys are prepared to go throw 95 and get Tommy John. And Tyler Glasnow said it. That's what gets me paid.
Yeah.
And I think that the mindset and the approach is just give me everything you have until you break, and then go take a break and come back and we'll do it again. And I think that teams are building that into their plan to know that if I sign a guy like Corbin Burns to a 5-year deal, he's going to miss at least one of those years, and that's okay, because for the other 4, he'll be great.
Yeah, it's just wild.
All right, I miss the days. I look at a guy like Pedro Martinez. Pedro Martinez was 5'9", 150 pounds, soaking wet in a cardigan sweater. I think they listed him at 165 at one point, but there's no way he was that big. But Pedro missed so little time through the peak of his career, and he said it many times. Like, I could have thrown harder, I could have spun the ball faster, but I didn't I didn't because I knew I needed to be out there. Like what helped make me great was being out there 30 times a season.
Yeah.
And we'd see him reach back and hit 99 when he needed it. But he was okay living at 94, 95 because that worked.
It also helps when you have a 79-mile-an-hour changeup that looks exactly like your fastball.
That
But
moves 3 feet.
yeah. But this is a great point, chat. I mean, dude, you're killing it tonight. Expanded playoffs keep more teams in it.
True.
Teams will take more of a risk because they are never really out of it. Yeah. And outs are valuable in the MLB, right? I mean, let's tell it how that's why you have all these top of the line pitchers getting paid a ton of money because outs are valuable and they're hard to get. So you need a guy that's going to throw max effort to get those outs, unless you're the Boston Red Sox staff. But anyways,
well, then even if they put the ball in play, you can't catch it anyways. So you're just
well,
not really getting any outs.
That's fair as well. But yeah, I mean, Chad, that's a fantastic point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally true. I think teams will risk more just to get in the dance because we've seen wild card winners in the series. You just have to get a ticket.
Yeah. All right, sticking with the Diamondbacks real quick. Another freaking fan story. I hate that we have to keep bringing this up. I mean, I guess it's our show. I don't really have to put it in. But fan banned after making comments about Marte's late mother. I say enough is enough. It's going to be like we're watching the games like the COVID season. At some point here, the players are just going to be like, we're not playing in front of anybody anymore. Like this is out of control. I mean, that would never happen. But if we keep it up, that's what's going to happen. Like we're just going to keep banning people. People aren't going to be able to come to the ballpark. And ticket prices are going to skyrocket. I mean, that's an extreme case, but what are we doing as a fan base? I know it's not all of us, and this kid was a young kid, probably didn't see what he did wrong. Hope he learns from it, but banned from all 30 MLB parks, as all of these guys should be.
Yes,
but enough is enough.
Yeah,
and yes, the White Sox handled this
Yep.
very professionally. It was well done by the White Sox organization. But enough's enough already.
Yeah, I just it's like we talked about the last couple weeks with the other incidents. It's MLB is kind of invited it by bringing the fans closer. I think that there's more information available about these players than ever before because of social media and all the other stuff we get.
Yeah.
So they're using that information against them. And I think that fans have just lost that awareness of the fact that like these are human beings. Yeah, Ketel Marte is an ungodly, otherworldly athlete who gets crap on a daily basis. But it doesn't mean you go after the dude's mom. Everybody knows that's territory you avoid.
Yeah.
And it just people just they completely lack any sort of empathy or humanity when they talk to these guys. Like they're not human. I mean, hell, we see it on the podcast page, Nick. Like people will leave comments that I'm like, Jesus, dude, like who hurt you?
Right.
That you come on our podcast page and absolutely tear us apart.
Yeah.
We're just people doing something. Like, what's the big deal?
Right.
And I think people have just become so disconnected because of social media, because of all the time they spend behind the screen. They've just kind of forgotten the fact you're talking to a human being.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like you said, we see it all the time where like they'll blast us and then we'll respond with something nice and positive. And it's like, thanks for commenting. Like, even though it was, not very nice, it still supports us because your comment helps drive our content. So thank you. And then they're like, oh, we didn't realize that it's actually people on the other side of this. Like, and some don't care, some do. But I mean, it's out of control for fans to think that because they're up and elevated and away from the players that they can say whatever they want without consequence. And
I think about like the NFL as an example. Like you think about how far the fans are away. Like you just don't get that level of interaction.
Right.
Which in some cases I think is fine because the game is moving and got fans don't have time to look at who's standing over there they can yell at. but there's distance. Hockey, you're behind glass. The players can't hear the fans anyways unless they're all cheering.
Right.
And then the NBA, they're right on the floor, and look at Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. Look at all the incidents in the NBA we've seen with fans right up in them. Like when you invite the fans that close, this is what you get. And
Yeah.
I think people have just lost, and we see this in society today. Like people have lost the ability to talk to one another. They can't talk to human beings anymore.
Yeah. And Captain, we do appreciate you for being our podcast bouncer for sure. I love when you hop on them before we even have a chance to. It's the best, Captain. You nail it every time. It's incredible.
Captain, you're the best free employee we've got.
For sure. Pay him free 50 every episode.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'll be a little extra nothing in your paycheck this week.
Yeah. Yeah. And a Christmas bonus of $0, but you're welcome. Thank you. But yeah, Chad, this is why players want privacy. They don't want information about them. And I get it. Like, and it is too bad because guys like us, guys that live and breathe baseball, love these guys. I would even say we idolize these guys. Like Ketel Marte, I have told you guys numerous times, is my favorite player right now, hands down. I love everything the guy is about, how he plays the game, how well he plays the game. I would love to know more about Ketel Marte, but fans like this ruin it for us that would love the opportunity to know who this guy really is. And it sucks. It really sucks. I hate it. And Midwest also nailed it. You know, players don't want to go to fan signing events during the off season because they know what's going to happen. It's brutal.
It absolutely will have an effect on players wanting to make public appearances. At some point, they're just going to say, I've heard enough. And the one thing I found interesting is you look at like Pete Rose. Pete Rose loved public appearances. Nobody would show up and sign more shit than Pete Rose. But Pete Rose was one of those guys who didn't give a crap what you had to say.
No.
And you have to have that kind of mentality, I think, now in sports, to just be prepared to hear the worst and be okay with it. And that's a sad thing to say. But I mean, then you got a guy like, was it Lance McCullers who was getting death threats a few weeks, like a month back, 2 months back? Like, why you're sending a guy who's missed 2 years hurt death threats upon his return? Like, what the hell is wrong with people?
Yeah. Yeah, and Forrest, I was watching a Red Sox game the other night. I think it was at Anaheim. And there was a guy right next to the mic, and he was just going off for 9 innings, just obnoxious. And it's hard because you can't ask him to move. I mean, I guess you could move the mic, but I hate to hear it on the hot mics too. It's obnoxious. But yeah, it just needs to stop. And John, the malice at the palace. I put this in here. Ron Artest was not wrong now, was he? Now, I believe at some point, we've said it before, players should get 1 free pass a year. Seriously. No suspensions, no fines. You can't get sued. Someone says something and you want to do something about it, you drag his ass right out to the pitcher's mound and you just give it to him. It would stop, wouldn't it?
I mean, it would. I mean, Ron Artest is a great example. I mean, was it Terry O'Reilly, the Bruins, who tried to climb over the wall and into the stands?
Oh, no, he didn't try. He did.
Yeah. Well, he 100% did. I mean, we were giving Anthony Rendon a hard time when he went at that player. And then we had it again a couple weeks ago when Santana, was reached up and took a swing. MLB is asking these guys to begin to police some of the stuff on their own. And that's not going to be a good result for anybody.
No.
You don't need an MLB player getting charged with assault because he grabbed some 24-year-old hotshot by the throat, dragged him in the bullpen, and beat the crap out of him. But that's what they're inviting because these fans are just too damn close.
Yeah.
You're too damn close, and there's nobody around to police it.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the fact that we're going to have to shut off pretty much access to the players. I think that's going to be the next step if this keeps up with fans. They're going to completely net in the ballpark. No home run balls, no autographs, no nothing. That's it. Yeah, this honestly is one of my favorite moments too, because Aaron Judge also came. This is why I respect Aaron Judge a lot. This whole Miles Straw incident, he got into the face of someone's fan. Got into the went into the stands pretty much with the fan. And then Aaron Judge came right out as well and was like, we don't do that. Like, he's yelling at his own fans to stop. Like, I mean, that's a lot of respect I had. I got so much more respect for Aaron Judge when he did that. But that's MLB doesn't want that. And the players shouldn't have to do that. But I mean, I don't know how you fix it other than completely shutting these guys off from fan access.
Yeah. And this is not just a baseball issue. We see it every day, with the comments people make on Facebook and the way people respond and the name calling and people have lost the capacity and the ability to talk to one another. We forget they're human. We spend so much of our life behind a screen, and what was never considered acceptable is now just what people do. Yeah.
And I think that's why I, for the most part, really respect our page a lot. Like, I'm gonna shout us out right now, and the followers too, because we can have respectful disagreements about our baseball opinions on our page. Like, I haven't had too many hateful baseball discussions with our followers. And that's what I love, right? That's what I love about this community. Like, even sometimes you guys in the chat don't agree with what we say, but we're able to talk it out and see both sides of the argument. I love that about our page and the community that we've built. But unfortunately, I wish society would kind of take notes, but on our podcast and how we handle those differences. But it's not like that out there. And I hate it. And it's going to end up ruining the game for a lot of us diehard fans, which is awful. But
yeah, it's a shame. And it's a shame to see a guy like Ketel Marte out there on the mound really struggling with what was said to him because he went after his recently deceased mother, which is it's territory you don't go to. And again, these people are human. We need to remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And John, I'm going to send you a message about that later. So no, you're fine, man. All right. Barry Bonds, talk about controversial topics. Here we go, fellas. Barry Bonds, the Giants, I did put thinking about, they are immortalizing Barry Bonds with a statue outside of Oracle Park. How does this sit well with you baseball fans?
I mean, and I know there are still the PED, there's still the PED cheater camp that despise him, and I was one of them for a long time. I was on the path of, if you did PEDs, you don't go to the Hall of Fame. They should wipe your numbers from the record book. You cheated. But then I've seen all the other stuff that's happened since with the Astros and the Yankees and the Red Sox with Apple Watches and all the other crap these teams have done, and nothing comes of that. And I'm at the point where it's like, look, basically everybody in that era cheated. We don't even know how many of them were on PEDs. There's a high likelihood that Barry Bonds was facing at least one pitcher a night who was juiced up. So let's stop pretending like he was the only guy in the league that did it. It was only him and McGuire, and it wasn't. It was rampant across the league. MLB supported it. Bud Selig did everything but stick the needles in their butts. And we need to accept it for what it is. Call it the steroid era and highlight it on their plaques. Yeah. These guys should be immortalized. They should be in the Hall of Fame. They should be honored for the players that they were. Barry Bonds is one of the handful of best players to ever play the game. It's not even up for debate. Whether
No.
he juiced or not, he's still. If you take, I mean, I remember the number. If you take all his stats, if you take all the stats from the MVP seasons that were considered tainted, he still had more than 400 home runs. Like
Yeah.
he's still getting in. Like
Right.
Barry Bonds absolutely should be honored. I'm glad to see the Giants are finally saying, forget it. We're going to take the first step here. It just has to be done because this was everywhere around the league. The league supported it, and you can't pretend like it was some big problem.
Yeah. I mean, even those comments that I just put up right there, four comments, right? I mean, we got not my team, don't care, I'm over it. You can't think of the Giants without thinking baseball. About time, baseball can't ignore the whole time period. As a Pirates fan, I love Barry Bonds, but he cheated when he was San Francisco. Like, there's still a lot of you're on either side.
Yep.
Right. I mean, and I get it, right? But I just it is time. It's time to move on. It's time to put it all behind us and move on. It was an era in baseball. I've said this numerous times. You're probably sick of hearing it. You had the betting scandal in the 19 teens. You had the greenies, the amphetamines, the cocaine. You had the steroids. You have the sign stealing. Like every era has something where someone was trying to find an edge. And you can say, "Oh yeah, cocaine wasn't trying to find an edge." It kind of was, right?
Yep.
It was. They were trying it to try to get an edge. So every era has something. And like you said, he's the best hitter of all time. He really is.
Not even up for debate.
No, eye-hand coordination out of control. Yeah, and this is where I think ultimately you just summed it up perfectly for my overall point, John Temple. Everyone knew it and allowed it, and we all enjoyed it. No one was talking about steroids when McGuire and Sosa were on that epic run in '98. It wasn't mentioned once. Okay, people might have been like, "Oh wow, these guys are huge all of a sudden," but they never said like, "Oh, they're only doing this because they're on steroids." I didn't hear that once. And maybe that was because I was younger, but it's just, yeah, there's no way. Yeah, home runs aside, there isn't even a point in most of our lives where we are hitting the baseball that well on steroids. No.
Well, and that's the thing that people miss about steroids. Steroids don't help you hit the ball. Steroids don't even make the ball travel farther off the bat. Steroids just help your body recover so you stay fresher. So
Right.
Bonds wasn't as tired in August and September, but it didn't help him hit the ball farther. It didn't help him actually make contact at all. That was all him. The fact of the matter is he just felt better during the year. He was a little bit stronger and fresher during the year. But an example I used the other day with somebody who was going off on Bonds that kind of stumped them was I said, "Hey, is Tom Brady the greatest quarterback of all time?" It's like, yeah, without a doubt. You do realize Tom Brady was suspended for cheating and then was also fined for cheating. And the Patriots on two occasions were fined and lost draft picks for cheating. Now, was it outright cheating? Yeah, they broke the rules. They pushed him as far as they could. Nobody's ever questioned Tom Brady's Hall of Fame legitimacy in his career, although
Right.
the man did serve a suspension and paid a fine on two separate incidents of cheating that, to change the outcome of a game. But his legacy is not tarnished.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say that he was just being a competitor. You can say that they are just pushing the limits. That's the same thing these guys did with steroids. They were just trying to get a competitive edge and push the limits. So why is it okay on one end for Tom Brady, who actually did Barry Bonds ever serve a suspension for cheating? No.
I don't even
Tom
think
Brady
he's got
did.
I don't even think he's got a positive drug test. It's just assumed.
Well, in the Balco labs they found him, but
Well,
still.
all right.
But you got a guy. Yeah. You got a guy in Tom Brady who was fined and suspended twice or once each for cheating, and yet Barry Bonds was always just assumed to have been cheating, and they're treated so differently.
Yeah. And Mike, I'm with you. Absolutely should get a statue, should be in the hall. How many of the pitchers he was facing were on the stuff? Probably at least a third, if not more. Yeah, I've brought up the Ken Caminiti article in Sports Illustrated, which
Yeah.
on top of that and Jose Canseco's book kind of released almost, I think, simultaneously, was Caminiti came out and said he was pretty sure on the low side, 85% of the MLBers took steroids at least once in their life. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, you saw that famous Mark McGuire interview with everything loaded up in his locker. Yeah, I mean, I get it. We're not saying it didn't happen, but it also wasn't illegal at the time. And you also had a commissioner like this being like, I don't see anything either. So,
Yeah. I mean, and again, MLB did everything but put the needle in their butt. Like they knew it was happening. They were well aware. They allowed it to happen. In some cases, they were encouraging it to happen because they needed to bring baseball back after the 94 strike.
yeah,
And the only way to do that was to make the game exciting. And so they basically just cut it loose and let these guys do whatever. And it says everything you need to know when it took them, was it 3 years after the fact before they even commissioned the study, before they had any answers,
yeah,
because they didn't even want to investigate it until it was Congress that made them investigate it.
right,
MLB was going to sweep the whole thing under the rug and walk away because they were totally okay with the outcome.
yeah. And this was ultimately, I think, the tipping point for Harrison, Chad.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, was this
No,
your
this is
tipping point?
100%. This is my tipping point. AJ Hinch and Alex Cora should be banned for life. The Astros wins and World Series should be vacated. And they did nothing. They basically just slapped him on the wrist.
Yeah,
And
not even a single
Astros,
player, not even a single player suspension.
no, I mean, and the only guy that paid for it's been Carlos Beltran. He's not getting into the Hall of Fame because of it, which hopefully will change. But the Astros outright and openly cheated to change the outcome of games. That to me is way worse than getting a physical edge.
Yeah.
And that whole Astro situation was like boys will be boys kind of situation. And they moved on.
Yeah.
That one, Alex Cora, I'm a Red Sox fan. I'm not an Alex Cora fan. I haven't because of this. I've never liked Alex Cora since he left the Astros because of that situation. Alex Cora should be banned from baseball. AJ Hinch, the current Tigers manager, who does a great job and is a great manager, should be banned from baseball. I view what they did as way worse than what Pete Rose did, way worse than what Barry Bonds did.
Yeah. Yeah. You start changing the outcome of games, it's time to go for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, and then you had the whole other rash where you had the Yankees caught with were they the Apple Watches or were the Red Sox the Apple Watches? I can't remember, but
It was something like that. Yeah. I don't know.
Somebody else had people relaying signs in center field. Like this we went through what 4 or 5 years where it seemed like every year there was some team accused of cheating, and they were all caught, but nothing ever came of it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think the majority of baseball fans, realistic baseball fans, are okay with the statue. I mean, like kind of what John said earlier, like not my team, I don't really care. Like I get that point of view because I'm kind of like that too. Like, sure, like if I go to Oracle Park, I would love to see the statue of Barry Bonds, a statue of Willie Mays. Like it is cool to go to a ballpark and see the statues. Like I've been outside of Wrigley, haven't been in it, but I got to see Harry Caray's, I got to see Ernie Banks, like saw Mike Schmitz outside Phillies last summer. So like it's cool. And he's such a huge part of baseball history. You have to immortalize him. You do, like it or not. So, yeah.
And like to John's point, Ty Cobb once said, "If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying." And these guys are always going to push the edge for competitive advantage. Baseball's friggin' hard.
Yeah.
Any edge you can get, you want. And I totally understand that approach, and that's why we have had things like steroids and greenies and all the other crap. But trying to get an edge versus like outright cheating and stealing signs and using technology to your advantage to win games, those are different. those are totally different. Standing at second base and tapping your helmet because he's going to throw a fastball to me is a lot different than banging on a trash can because the guy in center field is relaying the signals to you. Like
Right.
on the field, that stuff happens. If a pitcher's got to tell and he's tipping pitches, if the catcher's got to tell and he's tipping pitches, if he's openly showing you his signs, like that's that team's fault for not taking care of that.
Yeah.
But
100%.
when you're getting aided by third parties and technology, so you can just outright steal it all, it's totally different.
Yep. I agree.
And I was a card carrying member of, if they did PEDs, throw them out for years. And I realized how silly that was. Basically at the Astros scandal, I said, look, if MLB doesn't care about this, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah. And it was freaking 30 years ago. Like that era is done and over with, and we're still
Jesus.
talking about it.
Yeah,
right.
The summer of '98 was 27 years ago, Nick.
Yeah, that's.
I suddenly feel really old, dude.
Yeah, right. I know.
You said that, and I paused. I'm like, please tell me that math is wrong.
Yeah, as soon as I said it, I was like, oh
Jeez.
God, ouch. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's time. Yeah. It's time. And that's all I have to say to kind of close that up. It's time to put it behind us. Put them in. It was a part of the game. Time to move on. Because the talent that is on the field right now is also pretty damn remarkable. And if we're still talking about these guys, we're not appreciating what we got in front of us right now. Because we have a boatload of potential Hall of Famers right now playing. And it's time to appreciate them and stop talking. Like Pete Rose is almost done and over with. We're almost there. Almost there. Hopefully steroid guys will go and we can start focusing on what's happening now, because I think the talent across the league is the best that we've had in a long time. I'm talking young to old. The depth of talent across the league is pretty damn remarkable. So
it is no argument here. I mean, I think the level of talent is off the charts. The issue is the lack of health that makes it frustrating.
Yeah.
But you've got a handful of your top 30 or 40 players of all time, and a couple of your top 10. You look at like Bonds and Clemens, who are not in the Hall of Fame because of this.
Yeah, it's a joke, but good for the Giants. Good for the Giants. Say what you want about them. Buster Posey's doing a hell of a job right now.
Yeah,
he's got to have his hand in this at some point.
We had said when we took the job, the only concern we had is the fact that, being a GM is not just, signing guys and building a roster. It's running the whole office. And he, whoever they put around him to help, he's doing a fantastic job, because he's such a great ambassador for Giants baseball and just such a great guy. I mean, just such a great person. It's awesome to see him have this kind of success and be able to, put together a team that's even more relevant than we thought, and, go down the path of let's take care of Barry and, making all the right decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. Devers homered again. Yeah. We saw that, Captain. Thanks for the reminder. But yeah. All right. Las Vegas A's. It's pretty much official. They broke ground on the news.
Hang on. What was that, Nick?
I know. It's pretty much official.
I'm just making sure that that's how you were feeling, because I know that you were absolutely not buying that this was ever going to happen.
I wasn't. I really thought this was going to fall through at some point. Like the whole, government issues behind it, and the strip didn't want it, but the government wanted it, and I just felt like, and then John Fisher doing what John Fisher does, I was pretty certain this was going to fall through. I really was. But they broke ground. But, I did also say I won't believe it until the first pitch is actually thrown at the stadium. So
that is true. You did say first pitch.
So,
because the A's actually have to actually move into the ballpark and play a game there.
Yeah. So, And it actually happened. I actually put it in the slide. I go, broke ground on the new stadium. It actually happened. Thought it wouldn't. Will the A's wait to compete until they get there?
No, I don't think they'll wait to compete until they get there. I think they're going to begin. I think they're going to build and continue to get better as they get ready to get to Las Vegas. Because I do think they want to be good when they get there, and I think they want to be good the season before to build up some hype and excitement for them to get there. So I do think that they're on a kind of a 3-year plan to just continually get progressively better. So I think that this is, I think where the A's are right now is just the start of a climb.
Yeah, I agree. I think they have the offense right now. They have the foundation for the offense. There's still some pieces they
Yes.
could add. Don't get me wrong. I think their next kind of thing, they got to address the bullpen and the pitching staff for sure. And they're gonna be there. It's gonna be really hard to compete in the ballpark that they are in now. I mean, the balls are just leaving the ballpark at an all-time high in that minor league stadium. I mean, it is just, 13 to 10 games, 9 to 8 games. And you
It's like
can't,
pitching in
nobody,
Coors Field.
yeah, I mean, you can put the best pitching staff in that stadium. If you're playing half your home games there, you're gonna get lit up. You really are.
Yep.
But they are on the right path. I like the direction they're going. We'll see if they actually get there. But
Well, and Fisher is actually, Fisher just put the soccer team he owns up for sale because he wants to put more time and attention on the A's.
Okay.
So it seems like, ownership is refocusing, the front office is focused, the players are improving, the quality of the product in the field is improving. I do think Chad is right. I do think that it's going to be tough for them to sign free agents, especially pitchers, to go play in Sacramento.
Yeah.
They're going to have to go find those guys that are, maybe the next tier down, try to develop some more pitchers, because I don't think Sacramento is going to be a big draw for a marquee name. But I do think that somebody might go to Sacramento for 1 year, knowing that they're going to move to Vegas and be part of that transition.
Yeah.
But that's still a couple years away before you're really ramping up for that. So the A's still have some work cut out for them, but I do think that we're just at the very beginning of a rise for that organization. And baseball's better when the A's are good.
Yep. And Cap, and I'm with you here. They're kind of on the same curve as the ballpark. Yep. So I agree. Yep. As long as they keep heading in that direction. Yeah, Trip just to say we will talk about the Astros here a little bit at the end because they are on a heater right now, and our Mariners fans are hating it. But yeah, wait, owners can focus only on a baseball team. I hope John Henry's listening.
Yeah. I mean, Fisher went down the road of trying to accumulate more teams, and I think what he realized is it's hard. It's hard to focus on multiple things. And the A's are such a good, just so much history, such a good organization, and moving to Vegas is such a big move that now's not the time to be frigging around with a soccer team.
Yeah. John says, I was thinking about this today and I'm calling it now. Within 4 years of getting to Vegas, they'll win a World Series.
I've seen people predicting even sooner, 2 to 3. I think the A's are gonna get to Vegas and absolutely explode.
Yep, they really could.
And honestly, there's nothing Fisher wants more than to get to Vegas and be really good so he can thumb his nose at Oakland.
Yep, absolutely stick it to him.
Yep.
All right, let's get into our Sox for a little bit here, Harrison. So Alex Cora, what'd you say? I'm good.
I'm good. Nothing to talk about there.
Yeah. All right, Alex Cora was thrown out of 2 consecutive games. I'm asking, was it the right time for Cora to do this? Sure, he was right on the calls, but what about the state of the Sox? So for me, it's about, were the calls he were arguing, was he right about those? Yes. I mean, the second one I think was kind of borderline, but that aside, whatever. Your clubhouse has been in shambles since spring training. You need some sort of stability there. and getting thrown out of 2 consecutive games and flying off the handle doesn't show any type of stability. In fact, to me, it shows desperation because he feels like he's losing control. That's just my view. I can't get people to kind of see that part of it because it's like, oh, well, he was arguing the call because he was right. And I'm like, I get that. I get sticking up for your guys. But there's a right time and a wrong time to get tossed out of a game. You did it 2 consecutive nights. You just traded away Devers. You're trying to rebuild that clubhouse. For me, this was just not a good look. What are your feelings on that?
I feel the same way, and honestly, like I give Aaron Boone a lot of crap for this because he gets thrown out of games that he just has no business getting thrown out of. It makes no sense to get thrown out in the second inning of a game against the Oakland Athletic against the Athletics over where a strike was, but he'll get thrown out, and for the Red Sox right now, you've got a lot of new faces. You know, Abraham Toro, Romy Gonzalez, Meyer, Anthony. You got a lot of new guys you're trying to integrate. You've got a clubhouse that's in a bit of a transition period with Devers gone. You've got a lot going on within the dynamics of that ball club. And as the manager, you really need to be on that bench to keep everything rolling. And when you're not, now these young guys, unfamiliar guys, are looking for a bench coach to give them some guidance. And, you know, granted, you got a guy like Jason Varitek hanging out there, so you've got plenty of experience. You still got people to go to, but Alex Cora should be focused 100% right now on getting that team settled, which you can't do from the clubhouse when the game is being played. And I think the timing of it's bad. I also think how aggressively he argued calls that really weren't going to make huge impacts on the game either. Was he right? Sure. But it wasn't like they were taking runs off the board with these calls.
Yeah.
These were they were just not great calls. Like you have to pick your spots when you're going to go nuclear. You know, and in my mind, you go nuclear if they're taking runs off the board for you. Not if a guy's getting rung up, not if a swipe tag is close. Those aren't times to get thrown out. You want to get thrown out when the call's actually meaningful, not this ticky-tack crap that Aaron Boone gets thrown out for all the time. Alex Cora should know better as a former player. I think it's showing a lack of awareness on his part. I think it shows a lack of maturity on his part to use those as opportunities to get thrown out. And this team needs a steadying force at the helm, and he can't do that getting thrown out for stupid things.
Yeah, I mean, the second one, I think I would have been okay with if he didn't get thrown out the game before. Now, the second one was a borderline call where Rengifo, I think it was Rengifo, was receiving a ball from third base, and he starts to kind of put his leg down in front of second base to block as he's receiving the ball. Now, to me, I think he has the ball, and then he blocks as he's coming down. But they haven't called that all year. Ever since they called it on Frankie Lindor like the first week, they haven't called it. Nope. Except for at home plate. Home plates, it's been that way for the last 2 years at least.
Yeah, they're still giving those guys on the bases the benefit of being able to make a baseball move.
Right. So they haven't called it all year. Like, you can't go nuclear there. You could just go, hey, can you send that to New York to see if there's obstruction? And if not, be like, well, I think there was. And then go back. I mean, in that situation too, it would have put runners on second and third with one out. Instead, you got, runner on third with 2 outs. So I mean, it does change your scoring opportunity there, but it wasn't the right time to go off. Like I said, there's too many factors in the Red Sox organization right now. I mean, your GM is getting questioned by everybody. I know that has nothing to do with Alex Cora, but it probably does a little bit because they talk every day. So the state of the Red Sox is not in a good position for your manager to be gone out of 2 straight games.
No, that whole organization right now is under fire and under attack. And he's taken the night off over a call that everybody knew wasn't going to get changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Cora got a C+ at the school of getting tossed by Lou Piniella.
And I think, I think Chad makes a great point here. And I think it goes back to, we've been saying this for the last probably 18 months. Alex Cora doesn't look like he wants to be there. He does nothing but bitch, whine, and complain. He's never happy. It's never enough. Yet he takes no responsibility for any of it.
No.
And I think he is just playing the victim, pointing to everybody. I don't have what I need. We're not making enough moves. It's everybody else's fault. It's time. It's time to say, thanks, Alex. Goodbye. Wish you the best of luck, but this is not the place for you.
Yeah. And a move needs to be made sooner, but I'm watching how Molina does as a coach in the WBC very closely. I think
Can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I think we see Molina in the MLB at some point. There's going to be a manager vacancy. Someone's going to jump on him in a heartbeat. Same thing with Pujols with the Dominican Republic. So we'll see how those two are after next spring. But for me, like, I don't, it's not the fact that he argued the call. And I know he was right, but you can't get tossed in 2 consecutive games like that. You just can't. Not with the way the Red Sox are right now. So
no, it shows a lack of awareness. It shows the fact that Alex Cora's head's not fully in the game right now.
Yep, 1000%.
Because he knows better with everything going on.
Yeah, supposedly.
Yeah, supposedly. Again, I'm not an Alex Cora fan, but I think he knows better.
Yep. All right. Whit Merrifield retires after 9 years with the Royals, Blue Jays, Phillies, and Braves. 3-time All-Star, Hall of Fame. Nah, just kidding. But I mean,
yeah, he'll get there, but he's got a better chance than Barry Bonds right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was shocking because we were saying last night after Jeopardy when this kind of came out, I was like, he only played for 9 years. Seems like Whit Merrifield had been around the league forever.
Agreed. It just seems like he was a guy that was around a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, nine years isn't nothing, but I thought he'd been around, probably add 5 or 6 years to that.
Yeah, 1000%.
Oh, I think the problem is Whit Merrifield is one of those guys who's like so many other guys that you kind of lose track of who's who.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. We're going to go back to the Sox for a minute here. Did you hear where Breslow got asked why he fired the scout who found Anthony on the radio?
Is this the guy that called him the effing stiff on the conference call?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for sure. Molina
if not Chad, fill us in.
Yeah. Molina needs to coach the Cards. I think that they're hanging on to Marmol to see, and then I think Molina ends up there for sure.
I actually think Ollie Marmol's made it hard for them because I don't think they expected to have such a good season this year. And they were probably going to let him go at the end of the season, and now they've had a pretty good year, and it seems like things are settling in. So
yeah.
But I mean, if the Cards don't have Molina or Pujols as their next manager, whenever that might be, it's a huge mistake, and the fans should absolutely mutiny.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you.
It's just that would be like the Red Sox not even asking Jason Varitek to be their next manager. Like that, fans would lose their minds.
Yep. All right. Ronald Acuna Jr., first confirmed contestant for the Home Run Derby. Is it smart for Acuna to do this? And I know being in Atlanta is probably a big reason why. What are your thoughts on this?
Hell no. This is a guy that's been back for what, a month from another major ACL tear. If I'm the Braves, I'm putting this dude in a bubble during the All-Star break. Because I mean he's come back and he's absolutely lighting the world on fire.
Yeah.
And honestly, he's been all you've had for about a month because everybody else has just gone to sleep. But no, does he need to take more high energy, max effort swings? No, absolutely not. Acuna should be sitting somewhere with his feet up during the All-Star break to stay healthy for the second half. When I saw this, I'm like, okay, cool, but that's the dumbest thing I've ever read. Why on earth did the Braves even let him? Now I get the Braves are probably like, well, we're in Atlanta, so it'd be good to do it. But this is not the guy you do it with. Let Riley or Olsen go do the home run derby. Don't put Acuna out there. My God.
Yeah. I'm with you. I mean, I get it. You want to showcase your studs, right? Ronald Acuna, let's call it how it is. He's a stud, right?
Yep.
MLB needs it there. The Braves want him there. He's the face of that franchise right now. It all makes sense that way. I get that. And Cap'n, I get it. Yes.
Totally agree.
Yes, baseball needs it. Baseball needs it. I 1,000% agree. But do the Braves and Ronald Acuna need it? Like,
No.
and that this is a very fair point. It can't turn into the NBA dunk contest where there's no names in the dunk contest that anybody knows.
All these second and third tier guys.
And I get that point. For me, I'm with you. It's the injuries. Like 2 ACL tears, and you're having this guy swing from his touch hole for, 2.5 hours if he gets out of the first round. Just a lot of extra stress on his body he doesn't need and could possibly ruin any chance you got of making a run.
Yeah, any other year? Yeah, absolutely do it, Ronald. Like, go for it. But you've literally been back for like a month from your second ACL tear. This is not how you want to spend the All-Star break.
I thought it was a late April Fool's prank. I get it. For everything Cap'n says, I agree. I agree with that point fully.
Yeah.
But as the Braves, you pull him in and you're like, hey, buddy, like, I get you want to do this. This is the huge event for MLB and yourself. But we got to think about the future here a little bit. Like, did that conversation ever happen, or did the Braves just jump on it? I don't know.
Or did Acuna just say, hey, I'm in, and then told the Braves later? That wouldn't shock me either. But I agree with Cap'n too. I think it's great for baseball to have, kind of the franchise player for the hometown team in the Derby. I love the storyline, except for the fact that he just came back from a major knee injury. Right. And to me, that's just a terrible decision for his immediate and long-term future, as well as the Braves. But if the Braves are okay with it and they sign off on it, then good luck. As a Braves fan, I'm going to have my fingers crossed that he comes out of this thing without soreness or something like that, because that's what you end up with. Is he overdoes it and he's sore, and that soreness lingers, and then he's getting second opinions. The next thing you know, they got to go in there and do a little cleanup, and he's out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all these points. Olsen would have been fine as long as Judge is avoiding the Derby again. It can't be taken too serious. And John Temple wants Julio Rodriguez in there. Who would you like to see in the home run derby, Harrison?
Boy, it's funny. I would love to see a guy like O'Neal Cruz or Ellie De La Cruz, these guys with just crazy raw power. I would love to see just how far they could hit some of these balls. I think this season, I think Alonso's a great one. Obviously, Cal Raleigh would be a great person to see in this. But some of these guys with just the crazy raw power and high exit velocities would just be fun to see what they could do.
Do you think we'll see Torkelson?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, Torque would be a good option. I think he'd be an interesting guy because he has he's got a swing built to launch balls anywhere. I mean, Brent Rooker would be another good one. That's another fun guy to see in the home run derby. Obviously, Pete Alonso's had a good season. It'd be fun to see him go just hit nukes because we know he can do it.
Suarez,
yeah, another guy who's hit a lot of nukes this year. I think the hard part is there are the field is what, eight guys?
Yeah.
There's probably 30 I'd love to see do it. Only room for 8 of them, and many of the guys just don't want to do it. But
room for 7
guys with. Yeah, true. One spot's filled, but you've got so many guys with just such raw power. Yeah, I mean, Cags. I'd love to see Cagliano and just hit bombs.
Nick Kurtz has the longest average home runs right now.
Yeah, Kurtz would be a hell of a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
Tucker. I mean, let's bring PCA in. I mean,
Right?
There's so many guys.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Bobby Witt Jr. will join the WBC roster along with Aaron Judge. Who else is signing on?
God, I hope they all sign on. I want to see the whole gang. I want to see Mookie and Skeens, and I just want to see them. I want to see them load this team like we've talked about and go win this damn thing. Losing it last year or losing it last time, the way they did was painful. And to lose it when you didn't, when you had a team that was probably at 75% of what it could have been, and to be that close is frustrating.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for Harper and Trout. You know, Witt's already there, Judge is already there. I want Skeens. Like I want the guys to just keep coming.
Yeah.
And I want them to load this thing up and go crazy.
Well, Corbin Burns is out. That sucks.
Yeah. That does suck.
You got Scooble, you got Skeens, you got Mizorowski. I mean, his name sounds like he might not be from the US, but
he might be Greek, but
yeah. I mean, there's some young arms coming up. There's some veterans that I would love to see in there. I've said it last time, Logan Webb. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Logan Webb. Give me that starting pitcher. Cal is catcher. I'm with you. Cap, and this is exactly what I'm saying. Chad's with John too. Big dumper. Yeah. I think he has to be behind the plate at this point. They need pitchers. 1,000% with you. They're starters. Not trying to slight Merrill Kelly and Brady Singer, but they need guys that can deliver. Gilbert and Wu, I would take them.
Yes.
I would take Zach Wheeler. I mean, there's options out there. They just need to get them in on the team.
Yeah.
So Bryce Harper, keep doing your work, buddy. Keep recruiting. Because he hasn't even officially announced he's on, has he?
I think he basically has without saying it, but there's not been like an official picture posted that he's signed up. But he's been the one that's been kind of recruiting the hardest.
Well, he was supposed to be on in 2023 and had the elbow surgery, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, that for me. Listen, we can mix and match that lineup, and it would be one of the best lineups in the WBC. Oh, I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter. Like Kyle Tucker, Judge. Wait, I mean, you could go on, and then you can mix and match it, and you're not going to lose anything. It's the pitching staff for me, just like Captain said. Pitching staff needs to improve tenfold. So,
yeah, and it's. I mean, you just think of the names. You know, Bobby Witt, Mookie Betts, Kyle Tucker, Aaron Judge, Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Cal Raleigh, Jackson Merrill. Then you go down into the pitchers, and it's like, my goodness, you could have a team that literally would be just untouchable. Skeens, Scooble, Hunter Green, Zach Wheeler, Garrett Crochet, Logan Gilbert, Logan Webb. You know, a bunch of names we've already mentioned.
Yeah, your
bullpen would be loaded with Mason Miller, and it's just this team could be absolutely untouchable if they want it to be.
Yeah. Or they can, injury-wise. We don't know what the end of the rest of the season looks like. You know, we don't.
And I do think that's why a lot of guys don't commit so early, because they don't know how they're going to feel. They don't know where they're going to be. Like, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, I get it for sure.
You know, they got to be prepared to ramp up early. But if they finish the season needing some rehab or some time off because they're sore, you know, they can't ramp up so early. There's a lot to go for pitchers, especially. There's a lot more that goes into that decision.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. I know we usually don't like to talk about this guy, but some big news out of this one. Wander Franco found guilty and received a 2-year sentence, but the sentence is suspended, which means the judge has laid out certain conditions that need to be met. So if Wander Franco meets these conditions, he won't serve time. But if he doesn't meet these conditions, then the 2-year sentence is passed on and he serves his 2 years in jail. That's all I got on that. I mean, it's a wild story, but it's crazy that he only got 2 years out of this.
Well, possible, they were asking,
not even.
They were asking for 5, and the judge came back with a 2-year sentence and then suspended it on top of that, which had the other attorneys just like blown away. But in the midst of all this, the girl's mother was found guilty of trafficking her own daughter and was sentenced to 10 years in prison because she was actually profiting from, she was pushing the girl on people. She was the one that convinced her to lie about her age. She was then extorting these guys for money. So they actually rung her up for for trafficking her own daughter. She's getting a 10-year sentence. And part of why the judge took it easier on Wander Franco is because they decided what this woman was doing actually made it a little bit more difficult for Wander Franco to identify the fact that she was underage because she had lied to him for so long. And then on top of that, she was taking money from him and other people who this girl was getting kind of like pushed out to. The whole situation is wild. But because of this conviction, it is likely he will not be able to get a visa to come back to the United States, which means if he can't do that, he stays on the what is this suspension list he's been on, and the Rays are off the hook. If he can get his visa back, unless MLB decides to then fully suspend him or ban him, he could come back and play.
Isn't it like it's not a suspension list? It's something else. It's
not,
named something
I forget what
else.
it's called.
It's on a like physically inactive list or like physical. It's I don't know. It's something.
It's in the article. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, the whole situation is icky and strange and all these things. But in theory, unless MLB chooses to suspend him, if he can get a visa and come back, the Rays are obligated to pay him.
Yeah. Yeah, John says I was telling my wife about
restricted
this.
list. He's on the restricted list.
Thank you.
That's what it's called.
Something like that. Yeah, feels like the mom should burn. Yeah, the whole situation is
bad.
It's bad. It's gross. I get it. Like, I mean, after hearing kind of the details that have come out about it, like, I don't want to say I feel bad for Franco. It just sounded like he got caught up and he didn't know how to get out. Like, you have to remember when this started going on, the dude was 20, 21, right? Yep. When this first started going on. So, like, when you were 21, were you able to get yourself out of, have any of us been in that much trouble and been able to get out of it without help? Like, I don't know. At 21, I don't know if I could have. Like, I thank God, knock on wood, I've never been put in that situation. Like,
yep.
But that's a tough situation for anybody to get out of, let alone a 21-year-old kid that's trying to make a name for himself in the MLB, arguably already had, is getting paid millions, and he just needs this to go away, and he can't figure out how to do it. He's 21.
Yeah. You know, and he's being lied to by her, being lied to by the mother. The people around him are telling him to, you know, that it's all good. It's a situation where he made a bad decision, but was surrounded by people encouraging him to make that decision.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a sad story about like who you surround yourself matters.
Right.
And this is a situation where he got absolutely taken for a ride.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's potentially career ending. All that money's gone. I mean, talk about just watching your whole life disappear in front of you in an instant. That's what this kid's going through. He's still only 24. After all of this, he's been out of baseball now for 2 years. He's been fighting this thing. He's still got a gun charge that's come up because he had the altercation in the parking lot that has to be resolved, which sounds like that'll be minor. But this is a kid that had the whole world kind of thrown on his shoulders and didn't handle it well.
Yeah, that's tough. All right. That is all I had for this evening. Do you have anything? John Temple, you're killing me, dude. Do you have anything else to add to the show, Harrison?
Tonight? I'm not sure where to go from there.
Yep. I think we'll call it a night.
I think one thing worth mentioning is that the Rays, who have had this major resurgence and could even be the AL East leaders by next week at the rate they're going. The Rays have reached out to MLB to talk about where they're going to play their home playoff games because
they can't play at that stadium.
They can't play at that stadium. And MLB was like, oh yeah, like we got to figure that out because you guys actually don't suck like we thought you might. So like that is now a real issue that MLB and the Rays are discussing, which is where do we go?
I
The
already called
discussion
it.
is,
They're going to Miami.
well, I think they're going to have to. I think they're going to have to go to Miami because the Marlins aren't going to be in the playoffs. So that ballpark's available. You really can't play in that minor league stadium. Could they? Sure. Do you want to? No.
Well, the
Yeah,
Rays
I
don't
think they
draw
have.
for the playoffs anyway, so I guess it wouldn't matter.
It's true, but it's also really hard to take a team and move them 2.5 hours south of their home market to play. Because now who are you going to draw?
Yeah.
It's a weird. The Rays are in a weird spot. But what's amazing in all this is that this team is still good, even with all the crap they've dealt with. The rumors of being sold, playing in a minor league ballpark, not having a home, not having a future. Like they're still good. Like that organization just doesn't miss a beat.
Yeah. John says Atlanta. If they don't make the playoffs, that's an option. I think
Maybe,
they're
but that
gonna.
now you're way far away.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to have a plan in place before that. And if Atlanta's, kind of kicking around the wild card spot, which they could be, I don't know. I think with Miami being completely out of it and really no shot, you can start to plan for it.
Yes.
So I think Miami's the correct option there. But are the Orlando Dreamers done because the Rays are staying? I don't think they're done. I think if the Rays end up staying, I think the Dreamers will vie for expansion. They will absolutely go full in for expansion here. But
yeah, the Dreamers even said that like they're not done. If the Rays sell to somebody else, that's no big deal. Yeah, so Tampa to Miami, I forget you got to go around the Everglades. You end up having to go all the way around. It's 4 hours to Miami, almost 7 hours to Atlanta. So no matter how you slice it, like you're far enough out of your home market, your fans aren't traveling. So now you run the risk of like, what do you get for a draw?
this is a good question, Chad. If Miami isn't the answer, I don't know.
Yeah, no idea.
They would have to almost be forced to stay, right? And play in that ballpark?
Yeah. I mean, and they could. I mean, you're in Florida. October in Florida is beautiful. The issue is that
Seats.
ballpark is not. Yeah, that ballpark is not ideal for playoff games. But you could play there. You could absolutely just play right where you're at and make the best of it.
Yeah.
But I think you have to go to Miami, and that makes it kind of icky. But what else are you gonna do?
Montreal's the answer.
Well, I think Cap, and I think our initial reaction was three Florida teams seem like too much, and Tampa and Orlando are too close. But Orlando is so big on its own. I mean, it's Orlando as a market by itself is still in like the top 20 metropolitan markets in all the country. It's over 3 million people. Plus, you have millions of tourists that come in every year. Orlando could easily support a baseball team without having to poach anybody from Tampa. And Miami's so far away that it wouldn't matter. You're 5+ hours away. I think that you could do Orlando, Tampa, and Miami and be just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That would be a good dilemma though for for MLB because it's a fair question. I don't know if MLB would want 3 teams in Florida when you have a vacant spot in the Mid-Atlantic with North Carolina, Nashville. Like there's no team on the East Coast in that vicinity.
Yep.
Why bunch up your teams in Florida when you can spread out your fan base a little bit to a Nashville, Raleigh, Charlotte, somewhere in that middle section where there's nothing? Because you go Atlanta, Cincinnati, and St. Louis. Those are kind of your next 3 coming out of Florida there. And there's nothing in between there. I don't know. Again, someone said it back in the chat. Money talks. So if the Dreamers put up the cash, it's going to be hard for MLB to be like, yeah, no. So
yeah, and ultimately MLB is going to have to pick the market that brings the most opportunity, the group that's the most ready to go and most likely to have success and be able to get this all done. There's a lot to it. I mean, you've got to build out minor leagues, you got to build out a ballpark. There's a lot that goes into making this happen.
Yeah, bring back the Expos. We've been calling for that for a while. Move the Rays and rename
Love
them
it.
the Expos. Yep.
Montreal is a bigger market than all the ones they're looking at. It's over 4 million people.
Yep.
If you did baseball right, I think Montreal would be a great place to go.
Get a team in Louisville. I don't know what the market would be there. I mean, it's not bad. Look at the West. Yeah, Captain, the West is completely spread out except for California. I get that.
Well, and Portland's already getting, ballpark financing, ballpark financing package approved by the governor. Like, they are so ready to go.
Yep. So who will step up in the Carolina area? So there is a group. It's called MLB Raleigh. The Hurricanes owner is trying to put a package together. He's got a whole plan laid out of what the area would look like. I don't think I've seen any renderings of ballparks, but there is a group trying to get stuff together to make a bid, if you will.
Yep.
So Raleigh's on the table. I've heard rumblings about Charlotte, but I don't know if there's a group over there. And then the Nashville Sounds are in 1 week, and then they're out the next, then they're back in, then they're out. So I don't know the status in Nashville at this point. Because we were talking about it when we first started the podcast in 2021.
Well, Don Mattingly was their front man.
Yeah. So I don't know. We will see what happens there. I mean, we're still years away, I think. I still think we're an easy 5 or 6 years out before they even make a decision.
Well, and Manfred was saying he wanted to make a decision before he retires in 29. That was making a decision. You still wouldn't have 2 new ball clubs until 2032 at that point, because it's going to take 3 years to build a ballpark and get it off the ground. So in reality, we're still 4 years out on Rob Manfred's timeline from a decision, 7 years out from baseball.
Yeah, and I don't think he has a decision. The A's got to get into Vegas and settle. The Rays got to figure out what's going on there. I don't see him being able to make a decision.
You got to get all this TV nonsense settled. Like, he's got a full plate for the next couple of years. And oh, by the way, there's a CBA that expires in 18 months. That's gonna probably lock you out from the 27 season. So yeah, you got some stuff to do.
Yep, 1000%. All right. Anything else for this evening, Harrison?
That's it from me.
Yeah, I got nothing else either. All right, fellas. Hope you really enjoyed that episode. Loved having Robert on. That was incredible to start off the show. Our last 2 guests have been phenomenal. So absolutely love it. I hope you guys are loving the guests too. But it's really nice to have my co-host back full time. So really loving it. You guys are incredible.
Awesome to be back.
Yeah. You guys were incredible in the chat as always. Thank you for the ongoing support. It means so much to Harrison and I. Enjoy your weekend of baseball. We will be back on Sunday night to recap some of the stories from the weekend. Until then, whatever team you cheer for, let's go. Get it done. We'll see you Sunday night, 9 p.m.
See ya.